I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
In a moment that stunned the nation, JD Vance, once a rising star and firebrand of American populism, was forcefully removed from the White House in what can only be described as a political meltdown of epic proportions. Cameras captured his tear-streaked face as he exited the gates, sparking instant headlines in an internet firestorm. But what really happened behind those closed doors? Was it a betrayal from within, a clash of egos, or was Vance the victim of a deeper, darker conspiracy? His sudden resignation, coming just moments after the dramatic scene, has left political insiders scrambling for answers. Once seen as the voice of the forgotten working class, has JD Vance now become a cautionary tale of ambition gone too far? Or is this just the beginning of an even more explosive chapter? Initially, Vance and Trump shared a symbiotic relationship. Trump saw in Vance a useful ally capable of rallying a disenfranchised base, while Vance relished the access and authority his proximity to Trump provided. But as time passed, ambition began to cloud the partnership. Vance increasingly sought greater power within the Republican Party, seeking to expand his influence beyond the limits Trump and his inner circle seemed willing to allow. The resulting tension bred suspicion and rivalry among Trump's loyalists. The situation reached a critical point when Vance was invited to what he believed would be a career-defining meeting at the White House. Expecting confirmation of his rising status, he instead encountered resistance. Sources claim the meeting quickly spiraled into a heated argument, with Vance demanding a larger role and hinting that his base could become a bargaining chip. This aggressive stance alarmed Trump's advisors, who began to see Vance as more of a threat than an asset. The confrontation culminated in Vance being asked to leave the meeting, a moment that effectively ended his standing in the administration. As he exited the White House, the weight of political betrayal and personal disappointment seemed to hang heavy on Vance. Once considered a rising star in Republican politics, he now faced the sobering reality of political isolation. Yet the story didn't end there. In the wake of the confrontation, Vance was faced with a critical choice: fade into the background or launch a bold new chapter. What he did next would catch everyone by surprise and potentially alter the trajectory of his career and the conservative movement as a whole. The nation was left speechless when JD Vance, just moments after being escorted from the White House, took to social media with a raw and emotional video. Visibly shaken, with red eyes and a trembling voice, Vance delivered a bombshell: his immediate resignation from the U.S. Senate. The video went viral within hours, reaching millions and igniting intense public reaction. For his supporters, many of whom once saw him as the next great conservative hope, it was a gut punch. Vance, a man whose rise had symbolized the voice of forgotten Americans, now claimed he could no longer operate within what he described as a broken system. His statement struck a deep chord. "This was never the plan," he said. "I wanted to serve the people, but I'm no longer able to do so in this broken system." With those words, Vance didn't just step down, he sparked a movement. His tearful confession revealed frustration not only with the political machinery, but also with those he believed had once stood for change and were now, in his view, maintaining the very status quo they once opposed. For some, his resignation was a shocking betrayal. For others, it was an act of integrity, proof he refused to be complicit in a system he no longer believed in. The fallout was immediate. Vance had always portrayed himself as a man of the people, someone willing to challenge corruption and power. Now, with his abrupt exit, political insiders and analysts rushed to understand what had really happened. Was this a calculated move or a genuine collapse of faith? His departure carried symbolic weight, suggesting deeper fractures within the Republican Party and raising questions about whether the populist wave he once led could continue without its figurehead. Had the system broken Vance, or was he breaking from it in order to build something new? As speculation swirled, many wondered whether Vance's departure marked the end of his career or the beginning of a new chapter. Far from fading into obscurity, rumors quickly began to spread about his next steps. Reports suggested that Vance was already in contact with former allies, working behind the scenes to forge a new movement. No longer tied to the Senate floor, Vance appeared ready to take his political fight to the streets, where his message could resonate unfiltered by party politics or establishment expectations. By stepping away, JD Vance may have positioned himself not as a failed senator, but as the face of a renewed political rebellion. Whispers of a new party began circulating, one built on core values like hard work, family, and self-reliance, but distanced from both entrenched Republican elites and the fringes of the far right. While Washington reeled, Vance was reportedly laying the groundwork for something bigger. His dramatic resignation may have shocked the system, but it also signaled that the era of political outsiders like him was far from over. For J.D. Vance, this was never just about a political career. It was a mission to reclaim the American dream for those left behind. His new movement wasn't aimed at the elite or the powerful. It was designed to give voice to the blue-collar workers, small business owners, and ordinary citizens who felt abandoned by both major parties. As he quietly met with potential supporters and strategists, anticipation grew across Washington. The political world watched with bated breath, wondering if the man once hailed as the GOP's future would now rise as the face of a new political order. The stakes could not have been higher. Could J.D. Vance truly stage a comeback and challenge the very system he had just turned his back on? Would disillusioned voters dare to rally behind him once more? Or had the emotional exit cost him their trust for good? Every move he made was picked apart, every word analyzed. Political analysts argued whether his Senate departure marked the start of healing for a fractured GOP or the deepening of its internal civil war. One thing, however, was certain. J.D. Vance was far from done. Just when the public thought they had Vance figured out, he flipped the script entirely. Instead of retreating into political obscurity, he began moving with quiet determination behind the scenes. Whispers of a bold new strategy started circulating. Rumors that hinted at something big, something unorthodox. Political circles buzzed as reports surfaced of unexpected allies linking up with Vance. He wasn't simply plotting a return, he was building a rebellion. And this time, he wasn't playing by the old rules. Instead of cozying up to wealthy donors or veteran politicians, Vance was assembling a coalition of outsiders. These weren't your typical Washington power players. They were activists, disillusioned veterans, radical thinkers, and even former enemies. Late-night meetings in secret locations hinted at a movement gaining serious traction, from tech moguls to influencers, and from independent thinkers to rogue military strategists. Vance was building a team ready to take on the political establishment. Then came the public rally in small-town Ohio, a symbolic launch of what would soon be dubbed Vance's third party. He stood flanked by a group of advisors from wildly unconventional backgrounds, some of whom had previously challenged both parties. Vance's fiery speech ignited the crowd as he railed against corporate elites, partisan showmanship, and the cultural rot he believed had infected American politics. He promised a return to working-class values and national unity, but with a new, defiant tone. As days passed, more unexpected figures joined Vance's movement, further solidifying its momentum. A popular conservative commentator gave him a resounding endorsement, while a respected military general, disillusioned with the DC machine, was seen coordinating strategy by his side. This new anti-establishment alliance rattled the political class. J.D. Vance wasn't just staging a comeback, he was leading a rebellion. And with the nation watching closely, the question now was, would this gamble lead to a political revolution or a devastating fall from grace? One thing was certain, Vance's next move would change everything. As JD Vance's third-party movement began gaining serious traction, the political establishment wasted no time launching a coordinated backlash. Both Republican and Democratic leaders saw his growing influence as a direct threat to their hold on power. Strategists on both sides began working furiously behind the scenes, strategizing ways to discredit Vance before he could shift the political landscape any further. His appeal to working-class Americans, the very voters neglected by the traditional parties, had Washington on edge. What frightened them most was his ability to rally this frustrated base and turn their anger into action. The first wave of attacks came from an unlikely source, Vance's former allies in the Republican Party. Senators and conservative figures who once praised him for his populist message now branded him a traitor. Public statements condemned him as a self-serving opportunist who had abandoned his principles for personal ambition. At the same time, Democrats piled on, painting Vance as a dangerous radical whose rhetoric threatened to deepen national divides. Liberal media outlets amplified these attacks, hoping to undermine his credibility before he could gain more ground. But Vance wasn't one to retreat in the face of adversity. Instead, he fired back with defiance, labeling his critics as part of the swamp he had vowed to drain. On social media, he became even more vocal, calling out career politicians and media elites for silencing voices like his. His refusal to be intimidated only strengthened his image among supporters, who saw him as a fighter, someone willing to stand up to the establishment no matter the cost. The backlash, rather than diminishing his influence, turned Vance into a symbol of resistance for those disillusioned with mainstream politics. Just as Vance began reclaiming the narrative, a surprising twist shook the entire movement. A challenger emerged, not a politician or activist, but tech titan Elon Musk. Once a casual ally, Musk publicly broke ranks and condemned Vance's vision. The billionaire entrepreneur, known for disrupting industries and dominating headlines, now turned his attention to politics. Musk made it clear that he viewed Vance's populist message as dangerous and outdated. With his massive platform and cultural influence, Musk's opposition carried real weight and turned the political conversation on its head. Musk's intervention wasn't limited to harsh words. In a bold and calculated move, he began speaking directly to Vance's core supporters. At a tech summit in San Francisco, Musk gave a headline-grabbing speech that championed innovation, individual freedom, and a future shaped by technology, not tradition. It was a deliberate attempt to siphon support from Vance's base, appealing to their desire for progress over populist nostalgia. The battle lines were drawn: Vance, the voice of the forgotten, versus Musk, the prophet of the future. Their clash wasn't just personal, it was ideological. And as both men ramped up their campaigns, one question loomed large. Could Vance's movement survive this unexpected challenge? With the eyes of the tech world fixed on him, Elon Musk made a bold declaration. He was abandoning support for traditional political parties. Instead, he unveiled a new political vision centered on technological advancement, free enterprise, and, most controversially, the removal of political labels altogether. Musk's announcement sent shockwaves across the technology sector. He framed his platform as a break from the outdated left-right divide, asserting that true progress would come not from ideology, but from innovation. In his speech, Musk painted a picture of a future where entrepreneurs, creators, and freethinkers led the way. He dismissed conventional political affiliations, stating that both liberal and conservative camps had failed to move the nation forward. His goal was to build a coalition of like-minded individuals from across the political spectrum, those willing to embrace a world driven by boundless possibility and technological evolution. The message resonated deeply. especially with younger tech-savvy voters disillusioned by the current political system. Musk even hinted at a possible run for office under this new, nonpartisan banner. Watching all of this unfold, JD Vance quickly realized that Musk was stepping into the very political space he had been trying to claim. What was once Vance's turf, the support of Silicon Valley's disillusioned voters, was now under siege. Musk's sway wasn't limited to rhetoric. He had the resources, influence, and fan base to potentially reshape modern politics. As Musk's platform gained momentum, his growing influence began to siphon off supporters from Vance's movement. Investors, activists, and intellectuals who had once been aligned with Vance's populist messaging began flocking to Musk's cause. The contrast was stark. While Vance represented a more traditional third-party approach, Musk's bold, tech-centric movement felt dynamic and futuristic. Vance's team was rattled, struggling to maintain cohesion and relevance in the face of Musk's soaring popularity. The final blow came with a dramatic and unexpected betrayal from within Vance's inner circle. His most trusted strategist, Steve Smith, publicly defected to Musk's camp, citing Musk's forward-looking platform as the future of politics. Smith's departure symbolized a deeper unraveling of Vance's campaign. With key figures being poached and media attention turning sharply against him, Vance found himself at a critical crossroads. As Musk surged ahead with a high-tech, social media-powered political machine, Vance was left scrambling to hold on. The political battle was now entering its final stage, and it was Musk who held the upper hand. Elon Musk made one thing crystal clear: the future of politics wouldn't be built on outdated ideologies. It would be driven by innovation, progress, and technology. As Musk's bold vision captivated the nation, JD Vance was thrust into a defining moment. His third-party movement, once a symbol of populist resistance, now stood at a crossroads. Whatever path he chose, it was clear this was the moment everything would change. As the landscape transforms in two political powerhouses, one from Silicon Valley and the other from Middle America, collide, the world is watching. Can Musk's vision of a nonpartisan, innovation-fueled revolution take hold? Or will JD Vance rise again, fueled by principle and populist grit? Let us know what you think. Has Vance's political dream burned out? Or is this just the beginning of a bigger comeback? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into this unfolding drama. Thanks for watching.